He is a regional youth project manager at UNDP in Asia and the Pacific, and also Suzy Chen Dauf, youth development analyst at UNDP China, and Anita Thiessen, CEO of Youth Business International. Happy to welcome you all for joining us in this panel, and thank you so much for your interest in attending. As you can refer that the discussion today under the name of Green Horizons, Empowering Youth Entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurship is not only a drive for economic growth, but it's a good move to prosperity. When it comes to the social entrepreneurship, it's very important to realize that the prosperity is coming at a cost. And that cost needs innovation to see the good in what we are doing. Because if you're talking about transition from economy based on a fossil fuel to an adjusted transition based on the sustainable energy or energy systems that taking us away from the fossil fuel based economy, that needs to consider the social part. And also it's very important to realize the role of the youth as a core driver for these actions. So today, while we are talking about entrepreneurship while we are talking about empowering the youth, it's very important to recognize what different partners around the world are doing. And today, entrepreneurship is not also a sort of generating income, but it's also a way to move for the green, ambitious of green jobs, green-based economy, and we are talking about many opportunities in case we are having the capacity and capabilities to scale up the youth when it comes to doing their actions. So today I'm happy to start with Savvy. Savvy are having a great flagship program at UNDP to support the green entrepreneur with Suzy and Savvy, but let's start with you first to discuss the practical approach that you are using, the Springboard, and how the collabs also are supporting the green entrepreneurs, and we have a very good case example that we can listen to. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. And then, yeah, I think really appreciate ILO for our opportunity, and then also very good hi, and all the way coming from Bangkok to be here with you all. But I'm a Sri Lankan, but leading the Youth Empowerment Initiative for Asia and the Pacific. So we built a little bit of a slide just to capture the moment, but I just want to share our highlights in one simple architecture to how we can support green entrepreneurship at scale. So actually, I'm a social entrepreneur myself. I'm an agricultural farmer in Sri Lanka, working on organic farming, and then face a lot of difficulties in terms of scaling, finding solutions, investments, the policies, many challenges in the past. So when I joined the United Nations Development Program, I think for those who might know, we are in a global UN agency working on development programming in over 170 countries. And also we are from the Asia Pacific region. We cover almost 36 countries as well, part of our chapter. So we try to find a holistic solution. So if you are just working on one specific angle, we want to make sure that we are young people empowered, but how we can work with the last policy environment and also ecosystem. So this solution, I think the blue boxes is actually directly for young people. So we actually start the whole process with young people who doesn't even know entrepreneurship, because they might feel this problem, but they might thinking about, okay, I have this kind of a solution, but how to put it into a business model and architecture and others. So that's why we are raising awareness. Actually, entrepreneurship can be a solution, and there are skills and opportunities for you to grow your ideas into an enterprise. So that's where we start with the virtual courses, the chatbots, the AI level engagement, peer-to-peer learning, all these innovator ideas. And then we go, okay, you have a minimal viable product, or you have an idea which actually makes sense. How we can go from an idea to an initiative or an early stage wins. So that's where I think there's a good collaboration, I think, where YBI is sharing more as well, the different toolkits, the guidance, the trainings, the mentoring, and the hand-holding, and the initial seed funding. That's where the second segment of the startup support we try to provide. And last, okay, you have a larger solution. You can actually scale up. within your country or even outside your country. So that's where we actually work with how to access funding from investment to crowdfunding to either architecture, accessing e-commerce, and then also working with pre-acceleration and acceleration support as well. But I think the most important, I think many could achieve that one. But why a UN entity? Why a UNDP need to play that role? I think it's more about the last two boxes. I think we believe that we are not the only player and we are not even the best player in every local context to add value. So we want to work with partners. That's where the partnerships come in really handy and important. Local actors, regional actors, so how we can build their capacity. So in the yellow boxes, we actually told if you are a research firm, if you are an incubator, if you are a university, how we can help you so that you can help more entrepreneurs. So that's why we have development learning sessions, programs, and also for our UNDP country officers. And the most important thing, our goal is for leaving no young person behind. So we have a huge focus on indigenous peoples, we have focus on person with disability, young women at the heart, and then comes the purple and a little bit of the other yellow boxes, where the policymakers. So I think we just heard the session before, how we can bring interministerial architectures, Ministry of Youth, Ministry of Innovation, Ministry of Planning, together, and we can drive this agenda. So again, this is a framework, but it's in practice. Over the last 9 years, we have engaged over 250,000 young people and 3,000 plus entrepreneurs. But the best would be to hear a story. So that's where I think I'll hand it over to Susie.
Yeah, so before moving forward to Susie, I think it's very interesting to share that there is a particular and specific focus on supporting the young entrepreneurs, and also you mentioned a very good example about the partnerships. I think we will return back again in our discussion to this part, but let me introduce also right now Susie. She could speak about more of her case studies, which is interesting, I believe, to everyone to listen, and we can reflect on this.
Okay, thank you so much, Muhammad. I'm Susie Gaoxing from UNDP China. Very happy to join here today. Actually, me and Savi joined like 7 or 8 years ago to UNDP when we were young people at that time. And we always believe that youth are central to the SDGs, especially the world now we're witnessing the largest youth population ever. We have 1.8 billion. And in China, we have around 1/3 of the youth population who are aged from 14 to 35. So it's a very large youth population. I think it's the second largest in the world. So in China, we have been supporting youth innovation and entrepreneurship since 2015, when the previous premier put forward the mass innovation and entrepreneurship initiative. So UNDP China has been working on the Youth Collab since 2017, and in 2018 we have the first Youth National Dialogue, which is a Youth Innovation Challenge, to support and empower youth with the solutions, especially with some digital solutions. So in the past several years, we have been supporting over 300 youth-led startups. They are all using the entrepreneurship to achieve one of the challenges faced by the SDGs. For UNDP, we have been working with the government, private sectors, and all the other stakeholders because we always believe that these cannot be achieved by single entity. So if we're addressing the problems young people face, if we're creating a favorable ecosystem, then it has to be work with the different stakeholders, including government, universities, private sectors, and some international organizations. So one of the good cases that China has been doing is we work with private sectors to set up youth innovation grants because the young people always face the problems that they are lacking of fund and also lacking of some expertise on the building their own startups. So we're trying to use this kind of grants to bridge the financial and also the technical gaps faced by young people during their entrepreneurial journey. So this case, what I'm going to share is actually a case that Chinese young people has put forward, which is called WeCat. It's actually a very, you might feel like we have it in our country as well. That's why I want to use this case here today. You don't have to have very high technology or the most innovative ideas to make the world a better place. Even the small ideas can generate some huge progress. That's why I'm using WeCat today. So the founders, Steve and Joe, they are maybe just similar age like you. They generated this idea to recycle the wheat straw to produce some degradable cat litter or some cat nut. We know that in China, especially in the north part of China, wheat is one of the important crops that we eat. So every June, once the wheat harvest, people will burn the wheat straw. I was not sure whether it happened to other countries as well, because after you burn it, it's actually a kind of fertilizer to the land as well. While we have to think about that, once we burn it, the smoke generated is a huge pollution to the air. So I actually growing up witnessing this. Every time we pass through the farms, you will smell the smoke. So Steve and Joe was using some mobilizing some support from the young women from the rural areas to use the intangible cultural heritage to produce the degradable cat litter. It's very innovative. I got a video for you. It's a micro film. It's more like a microfilm. It's very interesting. I hope you can get some inspirations from that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Thank
do
you.
it.
每年寒假，总会看到沿途田野里弥漫着秸秆焚烧的
Sorry,
烟
it's
雾。
Chinese, but we have the subtitles in English. I hope
此
you
刻
can see it.
毕设方向迟迟未定的我，似乎也被它笼罩了来，急需一道光刺破迷雾。
同学们，你们看看自己的毕设作品，究竟有没
Is
有
it
用
possible to
心对待？
volume up?
对比周同学的作品，这科技感，这超前的设计理念，同样是我的学生，我替你们脸红。
周主任，你好意思吗你？你自己一个毕设方向都没定的人，你在那比比啥呢？上来。
这两个要点。
张老师，
哎，
何老师那边要找你开会了。
哦。我的毕设决定了，浴室防摔扶手，怎么样？
我觉得你需要一个扶手。
啊，累死了！
哟，都要毕业了，还出去了？
快毕业了。
有了！
眼前的这只花猫，它调皮的爪子像是打通了我的任督二脉。这种感觉就像烟雾笼罩的田野里，瞬间消散出一条开阔大道。也突然让我悟到了创意的六字真言：旧元素，新组合。
怎么样 ？Big idea！
哎，你不是口口声声说要设计跨时代、科技感满满的作品吗？
哎，你这毕设能过吗？
什么时候能看到样品啊？
猫本身就很喜欢自然麦秸啊，再结合非遗脉变设计生产出来的猫窝，既能解决冬天的秸秆焚烧，还能带动村民致富。这个设计的名字就叫麦草猫。
周主任，你真会挑路啊！
对啊，
The cat is the hero of the story.
你为了一只猫背叛我们，
背叛，我这是带你们走向未来。这是一条新赛道，我要成立麦草猫工作室，到时候你们就会知道，广阔天地大有所为。Go！
喜欢生活中的光，对我来说就像是一只海鸥，然后它想跨过这个海，到海的对面去整点薯条吃。
我觉得对我来说，它可能是在你去做了一件事儿之后，你会发现这个世界一下子就被变得不一样，就你和大家产生了共鸣，大家所有的人都在一起爽到了，一起 get 到了那个快乐的点。
Interesting.
每年寒假。
Yeah, I think we have seen an interesting microfilm right now on how the change dynamically happened to solve great problems with a specific solution, and of course, there is levels of the innovation process that can take. This simple part of the innovation is giving the young entrepreneurs the sense of understanding to the critical problems against different challenges that are facing our world, and this is very important to be recognized. And also, I want to, before going to Anita, I want to reflect on a couple of things where we discussed the idea of the partnerships and also the design of the collab itself. It's an interesting at the end of the day, and I took from Susie what she said about bringing the stakeholders, the academia, the industry, the private sector, and also the government, which is really an important matter while we are co-experimenting or designing a specific tailored programs to be directed to the entrepreneurs. But before that, before even we go to co-create or to collaborate together or even introducing our solutions, there is always a challenge about the knowledge for the innovation. And this is why the tailored specific knowledge sharing is important to be given to the young entrepreneurs. And I think introducing the tools to the entrepreneurs is more important to understand how they are thinking and to give themselves an opportunity to think about the real innovation and how they can transfer a specific challenge into a product and give themselves an opportunity to understand the social aspects of it. So tailored programs or tailored maybe toolkits is important to be given to the entrepreneurs. Anita, you are doing a great job when it comes to discussing how the young entrepreneurs can use the toolkit that you developed for the social entrepreneurs to use it to get their to get their innovation to a real action. We are happy to listen for you about this toolkit for social entrepreneurship, and I'm happy also to take also from the audience afterwards a discussion on that for furthermore.
Okay, I'm going to stand up. It's after lunch, and we're in a basement room with no light, so let's try to wake ourselves up. So two things stand out from that film for me. The first is he actually got a cat to go into the little cat bed that was built for it, as opposed to the box it came in. I need to train my cat better. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a film, but at the beginning, it takes a while to figure out what your business idea is and all of that. And that's really where this toolkit comes in. Now, I'm also going to do a double-hander. Emmanuel, for all the normal reasons, was not able to get here, but when you see the little video clippets you've done, you'll realize that if he had been here, my God, he would have stolen the show. So we're going to hear both from me about why we developed the toolkit and a few elements of it. And then Emmanuel will tell you about how he actually used it in developing a green impact business. Very quickly, Youth Business International is a global network of entrepreneurship support organizations that help underserved young people to start and grow businesses. One of our strategy pillars is about promoting youth entrepreneurship as a force for good. We've got a very, very strong practice ethos in our network, and when we entered the world of social and green impact, we really asked ourselves the question about what's different in terms of setting up this kind of business versus a normal business. And a lot of it is the same, but there are differences. And the Social and Green Toolkit was developed with 9 of our members from Africa, Asia, Europe, the Caribbean, really based on real experience and piloted with young entrepreneurs to help address those those differences. And, part of that is really understanding how do you balance profit and purpose, how do you articulate the impact, a variety of other things. The toolkit, I'm only going to go through 2 elements of the toolkit. It has all of these, elements in it. I'm going to go through the business model and kind of the impact ideation, 2 tools that sit underneath that. If anybody's interested in the whole toolkit, obviously I can share that with you. But before we dive into my beautiful technical engineering drawings on the tool, let's get some energy from Emmanuel, who's going to tell you about his business.
Emmanuel, or fondly called Signature. I'm the lead circular economist at EcoSource Circularity Limited. Right, at EcoSource, we're a sustainability-focused business, and the goal is about democratizing waste earnings and promoting circularity. In other words, if everyone can generate or produce waste, everyone should be able to earn from their waste generated. We do this through clean tech solutions, recycling, upcycling, and downcycling activities. Right, one of the major impacts when it concerns on the climate is that it helps us reduce the amount of plastic waste that goes into the landfill. Right, so what do? We collect this plastic waste, we aggregate them, and then we put them into alternative uses. Right, and another thing is that it helps us reduce the impact on the ozone layer. In other words, reduce the size of carbon emission. Right, one of the social impacts that it does for community and our host communities is that we, through a project called Wealth by Trash, we're able to save and support vulnerable communities, children, women, widows alike, who exchange their PET bottles for cash. Right, so PET bottles can be exchanged for paying their school fees. PET bottles can be exchanged for giving home appliances and household items. Right, and all of this is basically what we do in terms of imparting. As a vulnerable child myself, while I was 14, I started with doing cleanup around Lagos and many other activities that I was doing. Some of the challenges that we face in this business was we had a problem of staffing. Right, we had a problem of structuring and putting our stakeholders in their different categories. We also had a problem with funding, and the YBI training was able to help us solve that. Thank you. Emmanuel, or fondly called.
We like him so much, we're going to watch it twice. Yeah? No, we'll see him again later. Yeah, so under that understanding the impact that you're wanting to have, one of the tools, and it's not just static like this when you go through it in a training, is the problem tree, which then leads to the solution tree. And this is really about helping entrepreneurs think deeply about what is the problem that they're trying to solve. And every time they say it's about this, then they go to the next level, but it's really about this. It's getting as far down as they can to the root causes, so the leaves up there and then the roots down here, because the more they understand the various stages in the problem they're trying to solve, the better they will be able to articulate the solutions to that problem. And not all of those solutions will necessarily be within their grasp or will be the business that they set up, but at least they understand what it is that they're trying to address, then they could start building a business around that. And Emmanuel will share how he used that.
The next problem became who to sell to, for what price to sell to, and how to locate who to sell to. It was a major problem. And using the problem tree and the solution tree exercise at the YBI training, powered by Faith Foundation, I was able to plot this problem on the problem tree, and then we discovered that we can become the future of waste commerce. In other words, we decided to verge into what you call clean tech, right? Creating a mobile app that can allow a peer-to-peer device kind of activity that can allow the buyers locate the sellers, the recyclers, and every other person who are dealers on waste e-commerce, right? Another thing was that this app or cleantech device is able to help us navigate and understand what you call circularity gap reports. So there are dashboards to show you what the circularity gap reports within different locations are. And then people are also able to report pollution reports, right? So you can sit in your house and give us reports about flooding or all forms of natural disasters or pollutions happening in your area. So this app, this solution was curated, and all of this is thanks to the problem tree and the solution tree exercise from the YBI toolkit. Thank you very much.
So those of you who work in the field of entrepreneurship and support green entrepreneurs, you'll be familiar with waste picking. You know, it's not a new thing. But what Emmanuel and his team, you know, have tried to do is think differently. Obviously, developed a technology solution that goes with it, but turning that into a business that has that wider kind of circular economy impact. And another tool, I think, just to kind of keep it lively, I'm going to make you fill this in, right? No. It's the business model canvas, or the social business model canvas. So again, many of you will be familiar with the business model canvas, you know, as it is normally used. I'm just going to look at my notes here. What we've done, a social business model canvas, had the elements that are unique to a social impact business. Now, this was designed for broader social impact, but it's completely applicable to green impact businesses. So some of the three kind of key differences between this and the normal business model is to really understand the systems in which the green or social issue exists and the needs of the communities affected by it. And so, you know, understanding that wider context, it's not simply a consumer product and you need to identify your consumer market. You're identifying that wider systemic element. I think it's also really key, and this is one of the things that really came up in the early iterations of this when we piloted with young entrepreneurs, is to really be able to differentiate the value propositions to the beneficiaries, the customers, and the funders. Because I think it was very easy for people to conflate all of those together. And so the people who are going to benefit, so for example, in Emmanuel's example, you know, there were the people who were actually turning waste into money that they could spend on things they needed in their life beyond the specific environmental impact. That would be different for consumers that, or the buyers ultimately of the recycled waste. And then the third element is really identifying the building blocks for a sustainable business, and by that I mean financially sustainable, but that puts achieving the social and green mission as the central goal while still maintaining profits. And I think that purpose-profit balance can be a real challenge very often, because people who have chosen business as the vehicle for achieving their impact, you know, they know that's what they want to do. They've chosen, you know, a profit-based model, and they're very driven by the purpose, and sometimes getting that business element into it can be a challenge as well. So this is one of the practical tools that we use with entrepreneurs to get them to really think through, how do I make that difference in a way that actually is going to make my business viable? And for the final time, Emmanuel.
Hi there, my name is still Emmanuel Opara. I am the lead circular economist at EcoSource Circularity, right? So using the social business model canvas, I mean, it was very impactful to my business, right? In the course of training, I was particularly concerned about how it looks like something I've come across before, but the impact was quite impactful to my business, right? So one of the things that it did for my business was that we're able to separate our beneficiaries from our customers, and then to a large extent we're able to also differentiate all of these people to the other categories of stakeholders that we have from all kinds of funding partners that we can get, right? So in doing that, we're able to change our business model in such a way where we tailored our limited resources to be able to meet these stakeholders in question, whether customers or beneficiaries, right? And how that impacted our business is that we went straight to curating what you call the pitch deck for the first time. And with the pitch deck, we were able to attract key investors that came either through debt financing or came through equity. We're happy to also tell that some of those investors now were closing the deal, and it is looking pretty awesome, right? Why? Because we're able to attract these people, understanding what the business is, understanding our resources as against the people that we are serving. And that changed the game for us, right? We're excited to say that we're now a business that is attractive to investors, and then we have all kinds of fundraising activities that to a large extent affect the kind of results that we have as a business. Thank you very much.
Great. That's it. That's the toolkit. That's one of the entrepreneurs that's used the toolkit, and I think we're about to go into discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anita, for the great insights. And I can take only one thing, that social entrepreneurship is always having a perception of its voluntarily based cooperation, which is greatly wrong. And the case of Emmanuel and what Anita proposed is refuting this. And this is a perception must be changed with the different entrepreneurs, with the investors, with the ecosystem key players, because it's important to recognize the social aspect from a profitable perspective. And this is giving a game-changing opportunity to those who are wanting to create a change and to ensure that we are doing specific reforms in different industries. So thank you so much, Anita, for raising this. And after we had a discussion, we got the flow of what kind of support to the entrepreneurs, and the idea of the collab and the collaboration and the partnerships. And also we get into diving deep into the knowledge-based opportunities that might be produced to the entrepreneurs. Right now, we are in an open discussion. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to share thoughts. Feel free maybe to give insights. It's an open sharing space for all of us, and we can start this right now. So I'm happy. Yeah, here we go. Your name, please.
Thank you. Oh.
Yeah, I think we can. You can try it again, but just.
Thank you so much. My name is Jeanette Mutoniwase. I am here from Rwanda, and I'm social entrepreneur since 2017. I started this enterprise. It is called Inzira Dreams Network, from scratch, from circling plastic bottles and other waste people like throwing away. So since I started, I have been engaged in different trainings for social entrepreneurs, and I have been offering trainings for my beneficiaries in local communities, especially rural communities. But the most challenges social entrepreneurs face these days is for getting investment, because we have like that passion to transform our community, also to produce the product, but we are limited by our capital. And the current investors or current funders, they are looking at the profit. And yet, if you are a social entrepreneur, if you are doing like business, producing product, but also tackling for social part, it's not easy to generate a lot of profit. So what kind of advice can you give us, like social entrepreneurs? How can we connect social part and business part? And another is a suggestion for people who are in UNDP. I know here in Rwanda we have UNDP Rwanda, and it has been supportive for us, especially for me. The first capital I got is from Youth Connect, which is supported by UNDP. And I would suggest that UNDP can create more programs that are supporting social entrepreneurs. Otherwise, there is no other investors in this country that is supporting social entrepreneurs. And I think it's not here in Rwanda only. It's like around the world, because most investors, they're bringing their money, but looking at when are you going like to give me back my money. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have here three different discussions, and I will leave the floor to you to reflect on what our colleague said. She's talking about the profit versus the value. She's talking about the hardness in attracting investment from different investors, and she's talking also about how we drive the formula between the social aspects and bigger growth and profitability. I will take the floor to you, so you can each one, in case you want to respond directly. But let's start with you, Savi. She mentioned also UNDP, which is important to reflect on it.
No, thanks a lot. I think I'm glad that the Youth Connect is definitely one of our flagship and proud initiatives, especially with the Rwandan government as well, has supported. So I'll wear two hats. First one, from the UNDP hat on the larger architecture, how some of them, our tools are actually all online and virtually available. So we actually have created, pretty similar to YBA as well, most of our toolkits, if you go to youthcollab.org, we actually have a whole learning system on fundraising and managing capital and architecture as well. For answering the question on Africa, yes, we have our regional team based in Ethiopia, but also based in the country offices in this region as well. We actually even had a global call yesterday. We are discussing about different initiatives to bring the 5 regional hubs together and share their knowledge and toolkits and providing initiative seed capital. I think one of the programs is the Timbuktu. I don't know whether we had heard over there. It's just still fresh. I think just was launched in the World Economic Forum this year, where we are working with 8 governments to really create, rather than just putting at UN, actually bringing into universities to start the innovation pods and then, bringing the ideation, but also trickle down $10 billion of investments to strengthen the ecosystem, but also the investment to the startup. So it's coming up, but again, taking time, but that's at least from a UNDP's commitment for the Africa region as well. But other thing is also sharing stories. I think it's glad to hear the stories like here, but sometimes they don't get resonated in the investment landscape. They don't know you all exist and you have amazing solutions, and then you, with some little help, you can actually scale up and get business models. So we're also trying to do a lot of showcasing. We had a 50 stories, 50 faces of Africa knowledge product that was launched at Geneva last year as well. So we continue to do activities in Africa. Now moving to my social entrepreneur hat, because I was a social entrepreneur myself. I had a similar challenge as well, how to do as a social enterprise, like coming to my example of being an agropreneur, how to connect the blended, the solution of financing and sustainability. The answer for me, at least, I was just telling, it might not apply for everyone, but in every case, on the blended financing. So rather than just focusing on investors and equity capital only, we actually tailor-made to the grants and support program, which the development community usually have. The early stage, I think they were mentioning, some sort of initial seed grants. For them, usually they are not very scalable. They are not at $1 million scales over there, but at least that can grow your idea to like a minimal viable product. So UNDP ourselves has small grants program and many other initiatives to bring that. But what we did was also in the private sector investment, we work with both the consumer departments, which actually access our products and services, but also CSR departments as well. Because we hear from Emmanuel and then also our VCAT story is on the storytelling. So I think one of the biggest things that we do in our program is to help entrepreneurs on the storytelling connected to a larger pitch. So that's why I think YB are also mentioning they had a pitch deck. And sometimes your enterprise is actually yourself. If you present yourself well, this is my problem, this is how I hack, I need your help, I think normally the doors open up. So that's, rather than putting my UNDP hat, putting my social entrepreneur hat, that's how I sustain the enterprise. And we have over 3,000 farmers making about 10 million metric tons of rice over the last 10 years, organic farming. So that's how we connect. We're happy to share more later. Yeah. But,
perfect. Yeah. You have an answer? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just build on that. I think it's challenging anyway to get investment in a micro or a small business, more challenging if you're a young entrepreneur, and then even more challenging if you've got a social impact goal for it. So there's, a bunch of challenges there. There's a few things that Savi said which I think are really worth building on. One is to use, what in the language is called patient capital, so grant funding or, the small, the 10,000 or whatever dollars that will come from organizations, like ours. Use that not just to run, it's not just a revenue source to cover your costs, but use that to build a credible financial track record, so that it's an investment which is going to help you lever other investments. So go for, that kind of money, because it will run out at some point and you can't just keep going back to that well, but it helps you to start proving yourself as somebody who can do that. But I think the storytelling is really, really important, because usually what you're trying to do is not just build a market that doesn't necessarily exist, but increasingly convince investors that you're investing in the impact as well as in the profit. And that's where believing in you and the story you tell is even more important. And it's not fluff. You could tell from, the few clips from Emmanuel that he could talk quite powerfully about the difference that he wants to make, the model behind it, and so forth. So you need people to believe in you even more than when it comes to a normal commercial business. And it didn't come out so much in what I was saying earlier, but in that root cause analysis and whatnot, just be really, really clear about the impact that you want to have and how you're going to demonstrate that you've had that impact. And there's lots of big fancy tools out there, and you don't necessarily need to use those. But, if you say you are trying to, in your business, reduce pollution or, remove hazards from local, however you're defining that impact, how will you yourself know you're getting towards it? And how can you convince others that you're getting towards it? And you can start simply, around that, but you need to know how to measure that and tell that story.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think I also have a small reflection when it comes to scaling the profitability. At the end of the day, the social entrepreneurs needs more enhancements when it comes to validation of the products to be as scalable, which requires a lot of collaboration with different partners. And this is the role of the partnerships. This is the role of the business development to move forward, whether from a strategy of producing one product into differentiation strategy to give more products by using the same technology or the same solutions and adopt it to other industries maybe, and others to go for high-end tech projects, which may be a scalable one that attracting the investors and so on and so forth. It's a learning journey, and this learning journey is taking a lot of time at the end of the day, and also we need to reflect all the time about the power of the social aspect to ensure that the entrepreneurs are moving forward with that. But thank you so much for raising all these parts, and thank you so much also for the esteemed panelists to respond to that. Let's move forward. Any other sharing experience, questions, thoughts, whatever? There we go.
Okay, is this working? Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to add to what was said by the panelist as well in terms of that question. So I also work for an organization that supports entrepreneurs within the green economy. And I think that in terms of when there's finances, there's lack of finances, there are three sort of key parties that need to really play a role. And that is the entrepreneur itself. So you can either wait or innovate. That's the thing that I always say. And I think looking just at your model, so maybe it could be something from, supplying product or service to at full cost, and rather opting to provide it at a subscription. So looking at how can you actually change your business model so that you can actually generate more revenue. And then from an SEO perspective, I think it looks at your incubation model. How can you continue to support entrepreneurs? So are you looking at a graduation model where you're taking an entrepreneur from ideation to growth phase to acceleration phase? Do you have a scale and replication incubation model? Do you play a facilitative role once the incubation process has concluded? So can you connect those entrepreneurs to existing alternative opportunities? And then from a sort of financier perspective, or people that provide the financing, money is available. There's not a lack of money, but I think it's just about the ability to actually put in um, risk capital, to take the risk. And one of the things, just last week, we had our own symposium and we launched a fund with Nedbank in South Africa. My organization is based in South Africa. And it is I define the word, a recoverable loan that we offer to entrepreneurs that they return with very low interest. But if you meet certain sustainability targets, the money that you actually return is much less than what you have been received in the first place. So if you can reduce your emissions by X, Y, and Z, or whatever the case may be, or build some kind of climate resilience within a community that you're operating in. So I think just having more of those kind of initiatives where financial institutions are actually able to take the risk with entrepreneurs or emerging entrepreneurs or startups or whatever the case may be. And then lastly, I think in my experience, I think this comes back to that, I think the green finance landscape for SMME development, and particularly startups and enterprises at growth phase, is growing exponentially over the last couple of years. But I think the most critical challenge is entrepreneurs actually knowing where to access that information. And I think it comes back to the discussion we had earlier in plenary about, the Green Youth, the Pact, and having this curated resources available. And I think my question to those that is involved in that pact is the information about those financial opportunities available in one place that entrepreneurs can actually access? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any reflection from the panelists? Yeah. Yeah, but also regarding the pact is still in a very initial stage. As part of the youth advisory group, we hope, and also some of our colleagues are here. You can connect with them from ILO and the other organizations. But the idea of the pact is to enable the young entrepreneurs and also the workers in different workplaces and those who are still open to work to scale up, scaling, rescaling, and upscaling for sure their green skills to be able to compete in the market and also to transform this market and also to enable the young entrepreneurs to enable the green jobs and create jobs for sure. So regarding having one source, this is already aimed, and we hope we reach this as long as we go in a progress with the pact, with the different partners of the pact, and also the youth advisory group and the other partners during the whole duration of the work. Let's open the space again for, yeah, here we go. You first. But please, we can take 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Hi, thanks for the conversation. I'm Dorcas from the Challenges Group. I just wanted to sort of chip in a little bit based on the question she had asked on financing and also based on what she had also mentioned. I think having come out from a research specifically on social entrepreneurship recently, I think one key aspect is recognition. For governments like Ghana, where I come from, there is no recognition whatsoever on social entrepreneurship. Yeah, I think that it's still in the works. But you go to a lot of investors and you mention the word social entrepreneurship, they have no idea at all exactly what that means. And we've met countless of them in this process of research. So I think policy also has a role to play here, where there's at least some level of recognition. What does a social enterprise mean? What are the key indicators that shows that a business is a social enterprise in the first place? I think if that is removed from the ecosystem, then the whole piece of financing and all of that also becomes the challenge, especially with mainstream financial institutions overall. Another bit I would also add on to it is I've realized within the various ecosystems, every single partner is sort of working in silos, right? Everyone is doing their own bits. And within any entrepreneurial ecosystem, you cannot necessarily, as an entrepreneur, start from somewhere and know that you're ending at another point, not necessarily with the same partner, but with different partners. So I think that ecosystem creation coordinative approach is very relevant to this entire discussion. Can an entrepreneur start with an incubator somewhere and end up with a venture capitalist, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? I think that's also something we should really learn to create and intentionally create. Let's not just think it will just happen, but we should be intentional about creating that coordinative ecosystem. Thanks.
Thank you so much. There we go.
I'm Hisham Zehni. I work at the International Fund for Agricultural Development. We work primarily with smallholder farmers and small agribusinesses. So the question is on investors. I'd really like to hear how you helped the entrepreneurs that you work with connect with the investors, and what is the profile of the investors that have invested in those businesses? What are they, local, international? What's their profile, and what was the, let's say, scale of their investment, and if you can indicate a bit also the terms of those investments. Thanks.
I think we can have some also. Yeah, let's go.
I know that time is also running out. I will keep it quick. I think a fantastic question actually came. This is actually after 9 years, we are in the exact same discussion on the role of ecosystem. Just jump into that discussion as well. We created a separate program called Youth Collab Amplifier, just working on ecosystem, like amplifying incubating the incubators, because we found that, okay, they can actually share more how they do M&E, reporting, frameworks, guidance, and others over there, and scaling up. And now quickly jumping into the investment architecture. So far, our initiative has sort of, through our partnership, not directly only ourselves, has invested about $65 million on our startups, over 3,000 startups. So 3 levels, quickly as well. First one is the investment mostly come from the community and local organizations in the particular country. So if you look at China, or look at Sri Lanka, or look at Papua New Guinea or Solomon Islands, we find that locally the development networks, the NGOs or the UN networks, and maybe major organizations or the Bill and Melinda Gates Fund or any others, based on the country, they have local resources coming up. Usually up to the ticket size of almost 100,000 is the max that usually we have heard in our region, at least for the youth entrepreneurs over there. But normally we complement them with crowdfunding and capacity building and others as well. Then comes normally the venture funds over there as well. Also in 2 levels, we have the acceleration programs, which normally go for pre-Series A and Series A. We work with normally mostly private sector, based in major capitals and others over there, who usually invest between 50,000 to almost up to $500,000 of investment. That has been based on the value chain, market scalability. So it's more to ideate their ideas from one location to much more at a national level, and that's the investment landscape. And the last, but now we are working with them, is the large philanthropic and venture investments as well, which the largest ticket size we had was about $3 million in Pakistan and $2 million in Bangladesh, where they are really investing to even go transboundary to bring the solution. So we actually have like a person with disability application that came from Pakistan, and we actually have a very interesting model about actually herding cows coming from Silicon Valley and others. See a model, scale it up, because the return is over 20%. So just a little bit more financial language, but that's the investment architecture we have here.
Go ahead, Anita.
2 points is the entrepreneurs supported through the YBI network tend to be at a lower level of financial need. Usually it starts with that 10 to 20,000 before you move up. So it does start with that kind of friends, family, community, NGOs, the same space, and then it will tend to go to debt, to banks, whether it's microfinance, savings and loans groups, or a commercial bank. And to the point that was made earlier around incubation programs and so forth, I think an important part of the model, whether it's a normal or a social impact business, is that kind of incubation through to acceleration, that it's an accompaniment process. You'll have needs of support, over your business journey, but it's shown that if you get that support, that a financial investment is less risky. And a lot of our members, if they're not themselves microfinance institutes, they will have structured relationships with banks, which is not to say that they guarantee that every entrepreneur supported by Organization X will get money, but that it's a validation. It's saying Organization X has supported you and would like you to look more favorably on them, and that works. I mean, not 100%, but it's showing that you've developed the business skill and the business practice, which makes a loan more normal. And from that level of debt, then, the ones that really, really grow will then go on and get impact investment or venture capital. But I think normally it's at friends and families and then, a normal bank.
Susie?
Yeah. So on the investment, let me share with the China cases how we do the matchmaking for the investors and the startups. In China, we usually hosted an innovation challenge, and within that, we have a startup fair. We invited the startups, and also we invited the investors. We give them a platform that they can networking or provide some one-on-one advices to startups. So this is one of the famous session that startups like most. So usually we open this networking opportunity, and then they keep connecting with each other. This is how they are talking directly to the investors. I think it's a very effective way that stakeholders could do, because for the entrepreneurs, for sure, they really don't have a lot of opportunities to talk to investors for themselves. So that is China cases. So in addition to your question, also echoing to the two questions before. For one thing is social entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship. You can talk to the investors like how you make money, but they may not buy in that you're a you're contributing to the social values. Why we're saying this? Because the investors sometimes say we don't lack of money, we lack of good projects. So that comes to the question that lady raised too. That is lack of information, that to matchmaking with the startups and also the investors. How to make this platform to connect all the different people. I think this is the key. For UNDP and for some stakeholders, I think what we have been doing is to raise the awareness raisings on the social entrepreneurship. We need to tell them how important it is to achieve the sustainable development goals, but we're not sacrificing the profit. We're still making profits. On the other hand, we're driving the 2030 agenda and making the world a better place. So for the financial channels, I do believe that in addition to the investors' money, we can also, for social entrepreneurs, they can apply for some government subsidies, which I'm sure that many of the government have it. And in addition to that, we have crowdfunding. If you are a good storyteller, you can make your project a very good story and let other people to know your story and have a crowdfunding through the different channels. So I do think the social entrepreneurship has some advantages compared with the only profit-driven startups, because you can tell good stories, like how to make the world a better place, and then to mobilize money from different channels.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susie. To close up, I want to highlight one last thing, which is the importance of the recognition, as the young lady said, which required a lot of advocacy and mobilization and amplification for the youth and the partners to recognize their work, which is playing a pivotal role in ensuring that the governments and the stakeholders are recognizing this, because at a certain point they are not taking care of anything except the numbers, which take us to the lead that the youth should also understand that we need to understand the language of the investors and the governments at the same time. So we need to create the storytelling, the numbers, and ensuring that we are matchmaking between both of them. And this is take us to the last understanding of the new trends and movements sorry, in the world. Right now, the private sector are obliged. All the countries who are part of different frameworks and agreement are obliged to do their duties when it comes to the transition, when it comes to the environmental social governance, and the private sector are having the pressures. So the youth should advocate, and by these stories of the social entrepreneurship, they are advocating without knowing that they are advocating at the same time, but they are creating a narrative. Stressing on that narrative is that important, and understanding what is the needs of these institutions of the private sector. They are focusing on the ASG modeling, which is the environmental and social governance moving forward from the CSR modeling. So they need someone to provide them services. They need to saw numbers. We need to understand this. We need to capture this, and this is what we have to do as entrepreneurs, and this is what we have to do to understand the dynamics of the market and to be able to jump on and to take the lead, because we are the drive of this change, and we need a lot of enhancements when it comes to that. So lastly, I would like to thank all the esteemed panelists, Anita, Savi, and Susie, for being with us, and thank you for you all. I think we might have a couple of minutes to discuss bilaterally after closing the session. So feel free to move around the room or maybe outside. And thank you so much. Please excuse me, I'm feeling sick today, but I was happy to be with you. Thank you so much, and see you all. Bye bye.
using a model called Farmer Service Center model. It's a model, maybe I just give a brief of it, is a model under a program called Farm to Market Alliance by Cereal Growers Association. And what you're able to do is identify farmers in those three value chains from end to end. That is the end of production, the management of the crop at the farm, and then until this other end of the market. So we are having 300 farmers in the potato value chain, and we are having cereals being a major value chain in the area where we are placed. We are having 500, and then we are having 200 in the horticulture. And then through Joy Project, where we were able to be onboarded as centers to do like agribusiness empowerment, we are able to get the students that I had mentioned about to get attached to these farms, and then they are able to offer more support, either technically, to the farmers, to the smallholder farmers, and also in return, they also get insights on ideas they can either take up to start their own enterprises and provide solutions to the challenges they have identified at the smallholder level, or they can, when they get employment, which we assume some of them will go to employment, they can go lobby for either policies or better programs that can support these smallholder farmers well. So the program Joy Project has been able to give us a way of structuring our enterprise so that we can be able to take up interns or mentees for mentorship and coaching. Thank you.
I will use this one. Thank you. Can I ask for an applause, please? Also, we break the ice a little bit. Thank you, Lena. That is wonderful. Today we hear from the European Union that close the universities, right, that are not performing. Or they should be evaluated by not by the number of students, but by the number of jobs created, right? On the same hand, how are we incentivizing these young people that are creating skills on the ground for 300, 500 plus? Now I would like to pass the floor to my friend here, Robert, very well connected with the Black Soldier Fly.
Good evening. My name is Robert Mwangi Kamau. I'm from Kenya. I'm the CEO and founder of Campo Limited. At Campo Limited, we are in the food system sector, whereby we are trying to create and close the loop along the food system. As you understand, there are a lot of wastages in the production, distribution, and even at consumption level. So we are trying to use that waste. We recover it, recycle it, and remodel it into organic fertilizer and animal protein using the black soldier fly technology and the vermicomposting. So this model has helped us, or has enabled us, to create at least 13 jobs. That is 4 on contract, whereby we contract families at the dumping sites and at municipal markets to aggregate and sort waste for us. And then again, at production level, that is operation of the black soldier fly facility, and also the fortifying of the black soldier fly frass into organic fertilizer. We have at least 9 people. 2 are permanent and 7 on casual basis. So again, on the other side, in terms of the environment, we are very happy to be part of the climate mitigation aspect, in that much has been going around in terms, or much has been done around plastic waste management, metal, but in terms of the organic, it has been a real challenge, and especially in the landfills. So for us, at the moment, we are processing at least 12 tons of waste every month. And we are going into a model whereby we are now moving into the dumping sites and trying to establish the black soldier fly technology units from there, because we believe it will leverage on our operating costs and also create jobs for other youth on the other side. So, and again, the impact on to the small-scale farmers who are main customers, it's about soil amendment and productivity, that is production per unit of land. So our fertilizer is enabling them increase their crop production in an environmentally sustainable way, and also reduce on their costs. And in a way, it is helping them make agriculture make commercial sense out of that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Robert. An applause to Robert, please. So, yes, it's not just green or digital, right? It's also pertinent, no? Affordable, right? It has to be embedded already in us. Yes, it has to have a root in our territory and in our culture to raise, right? We already know that. That's the lesson learned long time ago. So, what happens with the Mayans, man? Some people say that the Mayans have disappeared, but no. Go ahead. Really? La pregunta ya la sabe, ahora en español. Sí. Sí. Él va a hablar, he will speak Spanish and I will help with a short translation.
Bueno, Guatemala es un país con prácticamente el 40% de personas mayas, personas indígenas.
40% of the Guatemalans are Mayan or indigenous people.
Sin embargo, todo el tema de tierras, allá las parcelas son muy pequeñas, muy reducidas.
But the land is very restricted. The plots are very small.
Y esto hace que los cultivos sean intensivos.
So that makes that our agriculture is quite intensive.
Promoviendo el uso de fertilizantes sintéticos y además de otras cosas que llevó la revolución verde, como el glifosato y el agente naranja.
So he's saying that we were used to have a lot of chemical fertilizers, right, to make the best out of this small plot.
Y esto en los suelos causa acidificación.
Yes, increase the acidity, the pH, yes, pH.
Acidificación, problemas de salud para los agricultores.
Health issues for the farmers.
El cáncer de próstata, que está asociado directamente a la inhalación de agroquímicos, en Guatemala se ha disparado.
And prostate cancer, which has been up.
Además de todo el tema de los gases de efecto invernadero.
Plus, of course, the greenhouse effect.
Esto ha hecho que varios institutos, que varios investigadores volteen a ver el conocimiento de los pueblos indígenas o pueblos originarios.
So many institutes and universities and researchers have been looking again at our indigenous knowledge.
Entonces lo que nosotros hacemos con Flor de Tierra es tratar de juntar el conocimiento indígena y el conocimiento científico.
So in our company called Flor de Tierra, Earth Flower, what we do is to blend traditional knowledge with new scientific modern knowledge.
Lo que hemos logrado en las parcelas a través de esta unión
Through this partnership at the farm level we have achieved
es 25% de aumento en productividad,
25% increase in productivity,
alrededor del 25 y 30% de aumento en rentabilidad.
30% up in income profitability.
Tenemos ya más de 2,000 personas capacitadas.
Over 2,000 people are skilled and using this technology.
Hemos trabajado en 10 provincias del departamento.
10 provinces in the Department of Guatemala where he is based.
Hemos además empezado a trabajar en algunos otros temas ambientales.
We are also now expanding to other environmental issues.
Donde le damos prioridad a los jóvenes.
Where we give priority to the youth.
Actualmente en Flor de Tierra laboran 7 ingenieros jóvenes.
At the moment in Earth Flower, 7 young engineers, professionals are working.
Y otros jóvenes con trabajos temporales que nos ayudan a elaborar los productos.
And a big number of other youth that are helping us seasonally to produce.
Y como el tiempo es muy corto, para terminar les voy a dejar una hojita ahí para que ustedes la puedan revisar.
And as time is very short, he will pass through your tables and hand over a small leaflet that can explain more what he's doing.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. You understand that one. Thank you so much. Thank you. A big applause to my 3 colleagues. And you can leave the your chair. So now we have a second round of entrepreneurs. Are you having fun? Yes? Why don't you show me some love? Hey, please. Thank you so much. Okay. So Nancy, please. Nancy, Lina, Nilen, James. Yes.
Oh. This was working. Let me just use this
Okay,
one.
go ahead, Janet.
No, it's just a very quick comment. I think from the different sessions, I'm noticing that the usage of black soldier fly is coming up more and more, and being produced by young people themselves. And I think it would be important to promote more learning and experience sharing among all these youth who are producing it. Not right now, we've heard about two, I think a couple in Kenya, but in other countries as well, we have more and more youth going into this, and I think more information sharing around this would definitely be useful. Maybe I should have introduced myself at the start. I'm Janetta Carlucci, and I'm the Youth Employment Officer in the Regional Office for Africa for the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO.
Thank you, Janetta. And I think those are the kind of messages we need to take out of this conference, right? What can we do now with the available resources? Because it is the youth who is managing already this kind of technology. It's a thing of helping them to spread it out. So here we have a wonderful panel, right? So we have at this time Sanda from Madagascar, Nilen from Cameroon, Nancy from Burundi, and James from the host country, Rwanda. Yes, give me some love. So next slide, please, Mr. Morgan. They already know the questions, so and you can read it on the screen. So I won't be posting them, but I would like just to first give the floor to Nilen. She will be speaking in French, so those that don't manage the language, please put your headphones on. Nilen, all yours.
Ok, bonsoir à tous. Bonsoir à tous, moi c'est Karel Tewa, je viens du Cameroun, mon entreprise s'appelle STF Natural. Nous faisons dans la production des jus de fruits à base des jus naturels à base des fruits locaux. Nous sommes basés à Douala. STF Natural Sal est une entreprise créée en 2017 grâce au programme PEA Jeunes. Actuellement, nous avons créé 25 emplois directs et plusieurs emplois indirects dans la ville. Les améliorations que nous apportons pour notre communauté de subsistance, en effet, au Cameroun déjà nous travaillons des agriculteurs, des GIC, des coopératives, des groupements d'intérêt commun qui nous approvisionnent en matières premières, particulièrement les ananas, les gingembre. De 2017 à 2024, nous sommes passés de 500 kg à 6 tonnes mensuelles. Donc, ce qui crée une stabilité de leur activité et leur permettre d'avoir... Ce qui crée la stabilité de leur activité augmente largement leur chiffre d'affaires. Ça leur permet aussi de créer des emplois verts directement au sein de leur communauté. Au niveau des emballages, la thématique avec les pays africains qui souffrent actuellement des emballages disponibles pour pouvoir satisfaire leur capacité de production. On avait une thématique en 2019 avec un projet qu'on avait gagné et on s'est retrouvé buté à la disponibilité des emballages neufs, ce qui a poussé en 2021 à se lancer dans le recyclage des emballages pour la production de nos jus de fruits. Ça nous a permis de créer en 2021 de créer des différentes communautés au Cameroun, des porteurs de projets qui se lancent dans la ville pour pouvoir recycler ces emballages. Nous avons créé 4 pôles, particulièrement dans différentes communautés. Ces pôles sont chargés de se balader dans leurs environnements, collecter ces déchets, ces emballages et nous approvisionner directement. Cela crée directement des emplois directs au sein de leur communauté. Nous avons réussi à formaliser aujourd'hui tous ces jeunes porteurs de projets, ce qui crée la stabilité au sein de leur business et la sécurité au sein de leurs activités. Parce qu'au sein de notre communauté locale, il se trouve que le recyclage devient problématique et l'État particulièrement ne comprend pas ce concept. Ce qui fait, quand ils vont se formaliser, on comprend effectivement qu'ils sont engagés et ils sont tentés d'exercer une activité rentable. Concernant la valorisation des déchets pour la création des emplois verts, avec notre capacité de production qui a augmenté depuis 2022, nous avons décidé de créer, de transformer nos déchets, puisqu'en mensuellement nous dégageons plus de 3 tonnes de déchets. Donc on a décidé de créer des emballages plastiques, des papiers biodégradables, comme des sacs, des shopping bags. Donc c'est un concept sur lequel nous travaillons. C'est un concept innovant sur lequel nous sommes en train de travailler avec les jeunes étudiants du Cameroun, les jeunes étudiants qui sont en train de développer une thèse, notamment à la problématique qui a été lancée. Donc, nous attendons les résultats de leurs recherches pour pouvoir implémenter sur notre site. Pour ce qui concerne les recommandations, liées au programme Joyce, nous aimerions que les recrutements soient faits de façon progressive et les formations aussi soient accompagnées afin de stabiliser l'emploi au sein des différentes communautés. Parce qu'il pose un problème de stabilité de l'emploi quand les formations ne sont pas suivies. Nous proposons aussi l'accompagnement financier parce que les jeunes d'entreprises comme la nôtre, nous voulons recruter et des jeunes qui ne sont pas encore formés, donc nous sollicitons un accompagnement financier pour l'insertion socio-professionnelle de ces jeunes. Nous permettre à ce que sur 1 an, 6 mois, on parvient à leur supporter parce que lors du recrutement, ils ne sont pas rentables. En leur supportant sur 6 à 1 an, ça nous permettra de supporter les coûts liés à leur intégration sociale et professionnelle. Concernant aussi des recommandations, nous aimerons que les chefs d'entreprise aussi soient formés pour pouvoir manager ces ressources, particulièrement STF qui porte sur la tête 25 employés. Ce n'est pas évident. C'est pas évident. Et nous aimerions aussi que ces projets s'étendent dans plusieurs communautés villageoises du Cameroun dans le but de permettre aux porteurs de projets d'étendre les activités et permettre aussi aux jeunes de bénéficier de ce programme. Parce que tous les jeunes ne bénéficient pas et ne connaissent pas, ne sont pas au courant de cette activité. OK. Merci.
Thank you. You see, Nilen has a long trajectory. She has so much to share. She can really demystify this that we can find, okay, we know that one size don't fit all, right? But we need to understand that actually not even that we need several sizes, several steps, right? And especially the trust in her, because I would like also to stress one point that is very relevant. You see, we were discussing policies and institutional issues, right, in the morning, yes? So now we are talking at operational level, how these programs, these projects that are there in the field to support the youth can work. Her enterprise is a very good example on how we connect the urban with the rural, yes? She is based in Douala, yes, in a peri-urban area. Why? Because that's where the market is, correct? That's where she has reliable electricity, right? But she has a network connection with the farmers for the procurement of the raw materials, right? So she's leading a change where also our youth can recognize themselves. Because if you ask any youth, they don't want to call themselves, be called rural youth, right? That's already a tag. They want to be just youth, entrepreneur, and successful. So this mobility, we have to understand, is not as clear as in our documents. So thank you so much. I would like also now to give the floor to Sandra from Madagascar. She's the youngest of our panel, just 22 years old. A big clap to her, please. She's an employee, she's an agripreneur, and she's a student. Because when we talk about jobs, it's important life-work balance, isn't it?
Bonsoir tout le monde. Je suis ravie de pouvoir participer à cette table ronde aujourd'hui et j'aimerais vous partager mes expériences en tant que jeune bénéficiaire du projet ProAgroYouth à Madagascar. En fait, le projet, c'est un projet d'appui à la création d'emplois pour les jeunes dans le domaine agricole et agroalimentaire. Donc, je suis une bénéficiaire de ce projet en collaboration avec la start-up Natura Madagascar, qui est en fait une société de l'agribusiness. Donc, je suis étudiante en agronomie aussi. Et ce projet m'a aidé, m'a donné une opportunité d'apprentissage dans le domaine marketing digital. Moi et mes amis, nous avons été à la recherche d'un travail, donc pour pouvoir subvenir à nos études et aussi à aider nos parents financièrement, puisque nous avons grandi dans la zone rurale de Madagascar, avec des situations financières un peu en difficulté. Donc, le programme Pro Youth nous a aidés à acquérir des compétences essentielles pour réussir dans le marketing digital, comme quoi la conception des outils de communication, les techniques de vente. Cela nous donne aussi une perspective d'avenir dans notre pays sans avoir envisagé l'exode rural. Je suis actuellement responsable commercial chez Natura Madagascar. C'est ce qui a été ma plus grande expérience de pouvoir gagner ce poste en tant que responsable commercial et d'étudier en même temps. Sur les recommandations, je recommande vivement d'offrir aux jeunes une opportunité d'apprentissage sur le terrain parce que nous les jeunes, nous avons besoin de mettre en pratique nos connaissances dans des conditions réelles. Que ce soit en biais de stage ou bien dans des entreprises ou dans des projets communautaires. Aussi, j'incite aux entreprises ou bien le secteur privé de nous accueillir pour que nous puissions mettre en pratique nos connaissances. Je recommande aussi d'impliquer les jeunes dans toutes les phases de projet pour que ce projet, parce que cela garantit que le projet répond véritablement aux besoins de ces jeunes. J'ai terminé, donc merci beaucoup pour votre attention. Merci.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Very powerful, very young, no? Very clear, no? Very precise. No going around, we have to find the ways, no. Please listen to me. And now we go to Burundi, right? Yes? And this is a different kind of experience because as the previous session was mentioning here, right, not everything is about profit, right? There are other issues that we also have to take care. So, dear Nancy.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Lise Nakenue, and I'm from Burundi. It's a really great pleasure to be here to represent my community. So I work for a conservation organization, and we are committed to preserve environments, to preserve biodiversity. And about the question of of what I've learned in engagement of youth in conservation. First of all, without youth, there is no conservation. There is no future conservation. Because you already know that we as young people, we are the future of tomorrow. So we need to involve youth in future conservation. For example, in my country, 65% of the population is youth. So we have to invest in youth because when young people are now busy working, they go to destroy environment by cutting down trees, by killing animals, you know. That's why we have to make them busy to really invest in their business. That's why we use an approach of connecting communities, engagement activities, such as in order to make them to appropriate the environment. You know, we have 3 programs. The youth are involved in 2 programs. 3 programs. The first program is about the raise awareness. We are focused on schools around protected areas, around the forests, around the parks, around the nature reserves. And the second program, it's the program of acting for the better change. You know, we organize some initiatives for youth to, first of all, to picking the plastics, for clearing the pathways in those protected areas. So we also want to motivate them, you know, to show them that they have the place in conservation. And the third program, even if we still have the few resources, we are trying to implement the community-based tourism. We encourage them to make some handcrafts in order to empower youth in conservation, in nature conservation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, so, no, come on, like it is raining. Like it is raining. And we are coming to almost the end of this panel with James. Yes, James is from here, I already told you that. And he's part of something that has been called the Rural Youth Alliance. Yes, the Rural Youth Alliance has been an effort of IFAD and many others, including, I would say, especially the youth organized, in order to pull together a number of organizations of youth of different backgrounds, yes, in order to pull the power together and try to negotiate. Yes, it's not as easy as I make it sound, right? So let's ask James. What can you share with us regarding the learnings about this?
Thank you very much. Good evening. Yeah, I think what I can start on, based on what my colleagues was discussing, the youth in general, we can categorize the challenges in 3 categories. Number 1, there are some people, different stakeholders, even the government, decision makers, they are always planning for the youth, and they are not engaging youth in planning, so, which means they are preparing to support, to work, to empower, but yet youth are not participating. Another thing, it was a challenge between the opportunity providers and opportunity thinkers, which is mainly youth. So the challenge is for the opportunity providers and opportunity thinkers, matching those 2 things was a big challenge. That's why you see the high rate always increasing, youth unemployment is becoming a problem. Thirdly, it's a capacity building. As everyone knows in the room, the young people, they need experience, they need to be competitive, they need to be associated and practice much so that they can be competitive on the market. So, bringing any opportunity which doesn't involve the capacity building, which doesn't involve mentorship, which doesn't involve supporting in progressing for growing, you are doing nothing because there is no sustainability for what you're doing. In that manner, that's why IFAD with different stakeholders have initiated what we call Rural Youth Alliance, where we gather civil society, private sector, companies, which work and also led by young people, to see that we gather the voice together, then we can raise the voice together based on the fact from the ground. And that Rural Youth Alliance, currently, we are working around the country, and we are trying to make sure that to prove from different stakeholders, the decision makers, government, policy makers, making sure that the evidence we have, the voice we rise from the grassroots to the national level, to the regional level, to the global level, based on the fact, and make sure that those opportunity providers are being considering the voices, to make sure that the opportunities, the plan, the progress is matching on the need of the ground, the young people they need. Thank you very much.
Very inspiring words, James. Thank you so much. With this, we have finished the interventions of the youth. Now we would like to hear what the ecosystem can say. No, it's not of an age bracket, but it has to do more or less where you come from and how do you work for supporting the youth. So I was wondering if any of the persons that don't declare themselves here a youth person, but a supporter of the youth, would like to make any recommendations to the youth or their fellow developers, you know? Is there anything that you would like to recommend, suggest, indicate, or question? Okay, good that we spoke in the morning, you see?
No, I think I just have a question. The organization that I work with, we also work predominantly in rural areas. My name is Shamla Reed. I come from an organization, non-for-profit company in South Africa called Indalo Inclusive. So I think it's just a question, and also out of my own interest and to build my own sort of understanding of the rural landscape. The particular challenges that entrepreneurs faced that are operating in rural landscapes, that is my question. Not general challenges from an entrepreneur or a green entrepreneur or social entrepreneur, but specifically for entrepreneurs operating in the rural landscapes.
So what are the challenges? Okay, do we have any other comment or question before we go back to our panelists?
Yes, me, I have a question maybe to add on what she has asked now, me specifically on the access to finance for rural SMEs. We find that the majority of rural SMEs, they are micro and small. And apart from the grants or matching grants or those schemes, now it has been seen that it's difficult for them to access financing. Maybe from the loom, if there are some best practices who can inform us how they are doing it, because it has been a challenge because the other enterprises accessing their those which are medium and large, but the rural, small and micro is difficult for them apart from the grants if the program has a grant component or some matching activities. Thank you.
Okay, very good point, right? There is a lack of access to financial and non-financial services, right? If non-financial services is only accessed by 5% in average in a country, financial services must be much lower. But before we go to you, any other question? Any other comment? What about FAO?
Sure. My name is Jessie Fagan. I'm a Green Jobs Program Officer for FAO. I'm curious to hear a bit more about, some of you guys had mentioned sustainability. So I'm curious on how you see green jobs and how we can promote more green jobs and be more inclusive to those who have less access to finance, those who are more marginalized. They come from families with lower income, less education. So how can we support them, including within your respective businesses? What are kind of some mechanisms to reach out and be inclusive for some of these more marginalized young people? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we take the last two, and then we wrap up just in sake of time.
Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis conseillère à l'emploi au niveau de l'Agence nationale de l'emploi, le service public pour l'emploi en Algérie. Donc, j'avais une question. Tout à l'heure, on parlait de formation et de compétences et pour une bonne transition vers une économie verte. Et donc, je me demandais, est-ce qu'il y a un programme de formation au profit des jeunes en situation de handicap Dans le cadre de mon travail, j'ai eu une expérience avec des jeunes en situation de handicap qui étaient sourds-muets, où on a fait une petite formation, un petit atelier adapté en langue des signes. Donc je me demandais, est-ce qu'il y a une opportunité au profit de ces personnes justement? Merci.
Very interesting, no? We are getting into now the topics. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Social inclusion, the vulnerability, persons with disabilities. Where are they in this discussion, right? Internally displaced persons, refugees.
Thank you very much. Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jean Mwenda. I work with SNV in the Netherlands, and I head up the youth employment portfolio with SNV. It's really exciting to hear and to see our change makers in the room and to, get inspiration from the work that they are doing in different countries. I have a question to our young entrepreneur in Rwanda on the Rural Youth Alliance, which you've mentioned is set up with the support by IFAD, which I think it's a very good mechanism or platform. But I'm wondering how accessible is it, and how can other young people within the region, not only within Rwanda, can access that platform? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I ask for an applause for those that made questions and comments too? I'm really sorry that we cannot take more questions or comments at this time, okay? But hopefully we can continue the conversation with a coffee in our hands. So many questions. If I don't remember wrong, the first one was about what are the challenges of rural entrepreneurs, right? The second was yes, regarding good practices in order to access finance, diverse products and services, I guess. The third question was related to inclusivity and sustainability of the jobs, right? The fourth question was about how can we include and make a larger participation of persons with disabilities, yes, in these green and digital economies. And the sixth question was about what about the rural youth alliances and this kind of efforts, or reading the voices and organizations together. I cannot reply to any of them, but I would like to ask my panelists, or even some of you, if would like to go to the first question. Who can quickly make a summary of what are the main challenges for rural agripreneurs?
Rebonsoir. Rebonsoir à tous. Merci déjà pour cette question vraiment très pertinente, qui est notamment axée sur le défi lié aux entrepreneurs ruraux. Le défi déjà qu'il faut surmonter au niveau de... Vous savez, quand on parle de rural, on voit ici l'agriculture. L'agriculture, déjà dans notre cadre local au Cameroun, qui n'est pas chose percevable pour certaines personnes instruites. Donc, le défi qu'il va falloir que ces jeunes doivent surélever est lié aussi aux défis. En fait, ce sont les défis qui vont porter plus dans le sens innovant, c'est-à-dire à mettre sur pied des agricultures beaucoup plus innovantes. Quand on parle ici d'agriculture verte, c'est-à-dire proposer des projets et des thématiques qui pourront permettre de transformer l'agriculture qui a été pratiquée il y a des années par rapport à l'agriculture actuelle, par rapport au monde actuel. Il faudra justement que les jeunes comprennent qu'on n'est plus à l'agriculture du monde ancien, qu'on est à l'agriculture de la nouvelle génération, mettre en pratique les nouveaux outils, les outils numériques pour pouvoir implémenter cette agriculture dans le monde rural, former ces jeunes, former ceux qui les entourent, pour pouvoir surrelever ces défis, passer d'une agriculture où on cultivait un hectare après un mois, de passer à une agriculture qu'aujourd'hui, qu'on puisse cultiver 1 hectare en une semaine. Donc c'est ce défi que les jeunes doivent soulever et comprendre que l'agriculture est beaucoup plus porteur pour eux. Parce que le contexte actuel pour les jeunes ruraux actuellement, c'est l'immigration. L'immigration dans notre concept, les jeunes pensent immigrer parce que l'agriculture est beaucoup plus pénible. Il faudrait justement que d'aucuns se lèvent et soulèvent ce défi et leur poussent à croire qu'effectivement avec l'agriculture on peut survivre et gagner sa vie. Voilà le véritable défi qu'il faudra que les jeunes puissent se développer dans leur cadre local, dans leur communauté. Donc ça c'est ma petite contribution par rapport à la problématique. Merci.
Thank you very much. I hope that suffices a little bit. We can continue that conversation. I saw that Janetta left the room. She wanted to give an answer to Brian on access to finance. You can do that? Thank you so much.
So one thing I've noticed, I just went right into it. My name is Mayowa. I am the Business Development Manager at ISEC in Rwanda. So I'm so glad he asked the question about access to finance. So ever since I moved to Rwanda, I've noticed that the government encourages entrepreneurs and they release applications. Government, philanthropies, private organizations, they release applications for business ideas. Do you have a business idea? We want to give you $3,000. We want to give you $10,000. But one thing I realized they fail to do is that they do not teach these rural entrepreneurs how to fill in those applications. So I know that from their end, they want to invest in businesses where they can see their business plan, risk analysis, value proposition, viability of their idea. And since these rural entrepreneurs are in the rural areas, they may not know how to fill in those documents and they do not get the access to funding. So my advice is that if any organization wants to promote entrepreneurship, they should also teach them how to fill in those applications. Someone can come up with an idea. How do I teach this person if they are going to a bank? What do they tell the bank? What are the documents that are required? So that can be a way to promote access to funding. Don't mind me, I'm very cold. I'm shivering. The AC is too much.
Thank you. Yes, it's very important. Access to finance is such an issue, right? So we have to continue to develop ideas, products and services, right? But also we need to understand the importance of what she says about financial culture, right? Many of the youth that are getting their first job, yes, they have no idea what to do with money. No, they were depending on their parents. They were living in a rural area. And suddenly they have not much, right? $1, $2, $3 a day. So what to do with that money? Yes, we see that the smart guys, they have a job, they save the money, and they put it into an enterprise, right? In order to generate more money. But not everybody has that financial culture, right? So it's very important that we accompany even the youth that has a job, not only the entrepreneurs, also the employees. They need to have financial culture. Yes, because moving from the rural to the urban is a shock, right? Several of us has passed through that. So for the question of Jesse regarding inclusion and sustainability, I was thinking that maybe Morgan, who works in the field in Kenya every day, can provide just a short reflection.
Thank you. My name is Morgan Siguda. I'm from Kenya. I work with a rural employment program called JOY. In terms of inclusion, what we are doing for our program is that we are working with organizations that are promoting inclusivity in terms of working with disability promoting organizations that are supporting us in terms of then doing away with the barriers that are affecting the youth that are living with disability to access opportunities that are available within the ecosystem, especially in the agri sector. Equally, in terms of then also leveraging on green opportunities, we are looking at then also development of green technology incubators that can be able to support the fledgling opportunities that are coming up, so that they can be scaled up, and through that then employment opportunities can be generated as well.
Thank you. Just to add on that, I think it's very important that we have a human-centered design, right? Yes? Because if we put people in the center and we trust that they have capacities, they will understand much better than any project manager, right? What is the community? So if they want to be inclusive, they will tell you so. I remember sometimes I was working in India, and they had some system of the self-help groups that they knew exactly every person in that village. So they were checking that all persons in that village were over the poverty line. Yes? So that can be managed locally. I don't know how a project can be managing that from an office 100 or 200 kilometers away. So sustainability and inclusion can be only with empowerment. We have a question about disability, and I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Isham from IFAD on that.
Thank you very much. So the program that we are talking about today has been supported by IFAD, the Integrated Agribusiness Hubs program. It's a program that's dedicated exclusively to supporting youth, and within that we have targets for supporting women. We also tried to ensure that the program could be inclusive of persons with disability. We didn't set a target when the program was designed, but nevertheless we've been trying to promote this added inclusivity to the program as we implemented it. It is challenging, but we have seen a few rays of hope, and particularly in Rwanda, we've seen that there's been some success in doing this. And this was mainly through raising awareness with the businesses that the program was engaging with, and you know, through some of them had these corporate social responsibility initiatives, and by raising the awareness with them and trying to show them how persons with disabilities could be valuable to their businesses, contribute to their businesses, we were able to, let's say, ensure matchmaking with these businesses. This also required working together with training providers, TVETs, in Rwanda it's the IPRC, Integrated Polytechnic Regional Centers. So to be able to design courses that could cater to the needs of persons with disabilities. It's still early days, we're still learning how to do this. In some cases we found that maybe it was better to have specific classes dedicated to persons with disabilities. But at the same time we also thought, you know, in the spirit of inclusiveness, we should try and ensure that there are also ways of providing upskilling that bring persons with disabilities and others together in the same training courses. So we're still learning as we're doing, but there is definitely a way forward, and we're seeing that there are successes. And there's another program that actually is called Spark, which Ariel knows very well. And there will be a learning route on that. That program is focused on helping persons with disabilities. So, Ariel, maybe you want to say a word or two about that.
They told us to leave the stadium, so we better get going. But I want to mention that link. Please don't forget about it. sparkinclusion.org, okay? It's called a help desk. And in that site, you will find several materials related to inclusion and participation of persons with disabilities, economical, social empowerment, okay? There are several interesting tools like the Disability Inclusion Facilitators, the Agri Labs, the Disability Inclusion Value Chain Analysis tool to find out those opportunities that may be of your interest. I have to close now. I will promise to respond to you personally about the Rural Youth Alliances after this workshop. And I really appreciate all of you for being here. It was very intense. We just concluded 50 minutes of meeting, so you can see how much we can do if we give the floor and the stage to our rural youth, who are not here for games, they are here for business. So thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
their voices and you know, what are their evidence and the things that stuck with them throughout the day. Thank you.